Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and welcome to Fully Equipped. In the previous chapter, Jesus has been talking about what the kingdom of heaven looks like through some parables. The chapter closed with Jesus calming the storm on the seas, and this brings us into a new section of this book, Jesus' power and authority over nature, demons, and sickness. Jesus is showing that he really is the promised Messiah and that he is the Son of God, but he also hasn't fully revealed himself yet. We'll get to that later in the book, but for now, Jesus is still veiled in a sense. We open with Jesus heading across the Sea of Galilee, and when he arrives, he meets a man who is demon-possessed. The demon within him has made him violent and isolated him from other people. He's destroying himself, and this is pretty typical of those who have demon possession. Self-destructive behaviors destroy a person created in God's image. He also has superhuman strength, which allows him to break off the shackles and chains people try to restrain him with. It turns out that there isn't just one demon, but many. We don't really know why the demons begged Jesus not to send them out of the country, but the point of this story isn't so that we can create a theology about demons or deliverance. It's there so that we can see that Jesus had authority over them. The demons know that their power is coming to an end, especially once Jesus dies and is resurrected. Jesus has complete control, so much so that he is able to send them into a herd of pigs, which run off the cliff and plummet to their deaths. It's not really clear why the demons wanted to be cast out into these pigs, but they only continue to cause more destruction through the deaths of these pigs. News of what has happened spreads around, but the people aren't praising Jesus for this miracle. Instead, they want him to leave. They reject him. This might be because they've just suffered huge financial loss, but it also might be because they don't understand him or his power. Jesus also doesn't allow the man who has been delivered to become one of his followers. Instead, he tells him to go and tell his friends and family what God had done for him. Jesus is beginning to unveil himself to the people. Then Jesus gets back on the boat and goes back to the other side of the sea. We see it as Jesus heals two people, emphasizing his authority over sickness and disease, even death. Jairus was a synagogue ruler. He wasn't a priest, but he looked after the way the synagogue was run. It's possible that he was actually a Pharisee, but we don't know. He comes to Jesus and humbles himself before him. Jairus' daughter is so sick that she's about to die, but Jairus believes that Jesus can heal her. On the way to Jairus' house, a woman who has been bleeding for 12 years touches Jesus' garment because she believes that if she does so, then she will be healed. This is a woman who is considered ceremonially unclean, and she really should not touch Jesus. If an unclean person touches another person, then that person was made ceremonially unclean as well. And technically, this should mean Jesus is made unclean, right? But actually, the moment she touches Jesus, she is made clean, so Jesus isn't made unclean. This is an interesting parallel to when people accept Jesus. The fancy theological term for this is imputed righteousness. It means that when we are saved, we take on the righteousness of Christ and give him our unrighteousness. We are justified by God because when he looks at us on Judgment Day, he sees Jesus' righteousness, not our sin. What's important about this story is that there wasn't really anything magical about Jesus' garment. The woman was healed because she chose to put her faith in Jesus. Even though she's a social outcast, has been suffering for many years, and has probably given up hope in finding a cure, she is healed because she has faith in Jesus. Then we get back to the story with Jairus and his daughter. By the time they arrive at the house, Jairus' daughter is dead. But instead of being afraid, Jesus calls Jairus to have faith, just as he said to the disciples on the boat. Jesus says that the girl is just sleeping, but he probably means this in more of a metaphorical sense because the girl is definitely dead. He's more so saying that her condition is as temporary as sleep is. And once again, Jesus proves his ultimate authority and power. This time, he shows that he is able to raise a girl from death. Many people see this miracle and are amazed, though they were mocking him just a short time ago. So throughout this chapter, we've seen as Jesus displays his power over demons, sickness, and now even death. So how does this equip us? Having faith is a really big part of this chapter. Knowing that Jesus has authority over all things should drive us to him in prayer. It's so incredible that we get to pray to God and trust in him to do what's best. Think about how many needs or desires you have in your life. How many of them have you prayed for? Jairus knows that Jesus could heal. So what did he do? He went to Jesus and asked him to heal. I'm not saying that Jesus is going to give you everything you ask for, but God does answer prayer, so why not ask? If we truly believe that God listens to our prayers and answers them, then we'd probably be praying a lot more than we currently do. He's got the whole universe in his hands. Let's trust him with our needs and desires, our pain and our problems, the things we're excited about. Let's be people who boldly go to God with our prayers, even if we're not sure that he will answer them, and trust that his will for us is good and perfect.